I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 207. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Thursday, September 18th, and the Bobcats got a 4-star commit. That's right. That's all that happened this week. That's all we're going to talk about. The Bobcats got a 4-star commit. Lakeelion Graves, Kilgore High School, 4-star commit. First one ever for the Bobcats. Pretty great stuff. We will talk about that, but obviously we're going to talk about Texas State's loss to Arizona State last Saturday night in Tempe, 34-15. Not a great first half for the Bobcats. They settled somewhat in the second half. Too many explosive plays from Arizona State. Incredible stuff from Sam Levet, from Jordan Tyson. Those are guys who are probably going to be playing at the next level. Tyson for sure. I don't know if Levet's game translates to the NFL, but man, is he a heck of an athlete, especially with his legs. Tough one for the Bobcats. Tough one for the young freshman at quarterback, especially that first half. But we'll talk all about that. We'll talk about that Arizona State game. We'll talk about the Nicholls State game coming up this week. The battle for the paddle returns. Doesn't seem like many people care as much, though. We interviewed some players. Nobody knows what the heck we're talking about. It is a pretty old rivalry, but we'll rehash it, and we'll talk a little bit about that and some recruiting, because the Bobcats did get a 4-star commit. Lakeelion Graves, wide receiver or a DB, not exactly sure. We'll find it. We're going to talk more about it. We'll get there. Lots to go over, but before we do that, this episode is brought to you by TGC LLC, the Galindo Collective, thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, galindocollective.com. A team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at TGC_LLC, and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a Texas State grad, a true Texas State sicko. Third season TGC LLC has been sponsoring us, and we are bringing back the TGC ticket giveaway. So stay frosty. Look out for that one on social media platforms. Until then, check out the Galindo Collective, thegalindocollective.com, Galindo, galindocollective.com. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see me with the maroon Cats by 90 hat from bhihats.com. Been having it hats. They've got these sweet looks. They've got this state look. Hold on, I've got it right here. There's the state hat as well. You can find these on bhihats.com. You punch in promo code WNOGB. You get 10% off of these hats. They're going quick. Get on there. They already sold out of the white hat, so get on there. bhihats.com. bhihats.com. WNOGB promo code. Had to throw that out there one last time. All right, let's get to the Bobcats. Specifically, let's get to college football, because actually some news dropped. I'm glad. Sorry, only one episode this week, some scheduling conflicts that we had going on. So just one this week, but we're a jam-packed episode for you right here. We're going to be back cooking next week. Even though it's a bye week, I've got some good stuff planned for you on the bye week. A lot of it doing with recruiting, what I'm about to talk about now. But that's why we're kind of getting a news update, a game recap, and then a game preview all in one. But I'm going to make it fit in a nice, efficient little window for you. You'll see in this episode. Transfer portal news, though, just one window for the transfer portal. From now on, it'll be in January. Before, it was 2 windows, two periods that the players can enter the transfer portal and that coaches could go in there and find players and bring them in. There used to be a 20-day window in December and a 10-day window in April. Both of those windows are gone, and they are replaced what is seeming to be a 10-day window in January. So just one window in January. Let teams finish out the season. It'll be interesting to see the implications this has with postseason and players holding out for bowl games and everything. If we see that happen more, like the player that sticks out to me specifically for the Bobcats was like Ishmati. He played the full season. Shout out to Ishmati for that. He didn't even have to come back for a second season. He was led the nation in all-purpose yards the year before he came back for 2024. But he didn't play in the bowl game. He transferred to Arizona. And so I wonder if this will help that at all. I know it'll ease a lot of the stress and pressures of recruiting on these coaches, specifically in the springtime. Like we saw Texas State, they closed off spring practice this last spring, specifically because they didn't want to get a lot of news out about certain players. All of a sudden, some poachers come along and they're trying to get your player to hop in the transfer portal. So this will ease a lot of that. I know it seems pretty universal that the coaches want just one window. I mean, all the coaches took advantage of 2 windows, but it makes things easier with just the one window. So that's great. I know that's going to be big for players not leaving right after spring practice. We see a lot of that. That spring practice win and guys are gone. They're locked in a little bit more. 4-star commit, as I opened the show talking about, 4-star commit for Texas State. First ever 4-star commit, Lakeelian Graves out of Kilgore High School. A 4-star, I still can't believe it, a 4-star. Now, Texas State, they have had players transfer in that were former high school 4-stars that weren't 4-star transfers. When they came to Texas State, I think of Malik Hornsby was that type of player. He was a 4-star athlete in high school. And then by the time he transferred to Texas State, he was a 3-star. Now, this is the first outright 4-star high school player for Texas State. They have him committed now. He's not signed. There is obviously, you got to hold on to this commitment, and that's going to take a lot because this kid has a lot of suitors. But that is fascinating that Lakeelian Graves is the first 4-star commit for the Texas State Bobcats. 6'2" out of Kilgore, offers from Mizzou, Houston, Wake Forest, Washington State, UTSA, UNT, Tulane, Tulsa, Rice, a lot of other offers. Those are some of the big heavy hitters that he has. Some P4s in there, some peer G5s in the state of Texas that the Bobcats were able to beat out for Graves. He's a track star at Kilgore. He's also a productive two-way player on the football field, playing offense and defense. I found that interesting. I saw he was a wide receiver. I was like, that's exciting. Let me turn on his huddle tape. And it's every other play is one play is an offensive play, him playing receiver, him absolute yak master, catching the ball and just running past everybody. He gets yards after catch like crazy. He's a bigger receiver, a lot of size and and width to his frame. Also a lot of speed in there too as a track star, like I was saying. But he runs over guys. He runs violently, aggressively, and that's impressive for a wide receiver. But then you see the very next play, it's him on defense playing defensive back, and you see he's just as aggressive on that side of the ball as well, getting interceptions, real knack for the ball. He's long, rangy defensive back. We know that Texas State covets that very much. So I wonder what he's going to play at Texas State, if they're looking at him for both sides, if they were able to beat out some of these P4s by saying, hey, maybe you could be the Texas State Travis Hunter if you come here and play on both sides of the ball, because it's one of the rare times where you turn on some tape and the player is equally as good on both sides of the ball. I mean, even blocking as a wide receiver, this guy, he ultimate competitor. He just goes through the whistle, not even to the whistle. He goes through the whistle on both sides of the ball, where he's blocking some of these DBs and setting it up for either a quarterback that's running or a running back that's running. I appreciated how many highlights in his huddle tape were of him blocking down the field, just to show you what a competitor he is. You see the defensive tape where he's just being extra aggressive. Really liked what I saw. Some notes I wrote for him. Kind of already said this one. He's got a lot of size, frame, and speed for a junior. When you cut that tape and it's junior, all of that is already outstanding, and he's that young, so it's got room to develop and grow even further. Even when you look at his size, his frame, he definitely has room to grow and add some muscle on there. shedding tackles, breaking tackles like a running back at wide receiver. I love to see that. He's more of a long distance speed than agility, as you can see if you cut the tape on some of those huddles. He can, once he starts getting his motor going, he's gone. But it takes a little bit to rev it up. That's not a bad thing. That's stuff you can work on, get a little twitchier. But that long range speed, that also leads to explosive plays. 136 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, 6 pass blocks, and 6 TFLs on defense. Like I'm saying, he plays both ways. So even though he's listed as a receiver, on the commitment graphic that he had receiver. That leads me to believe they're leaning more towards receiver at Texas State. But yeah, at receiver, ferocious as a receiver. Lots of yak for him. I don't have a stat on how many yards after catch, but I do know 20.6 yards per catch. A lot of them are short catches that he takes off on. 48 catches, 987 yards, and 13 touchdowns last season for Kilgore. So there you go. Lakelian Graves. I've seen his name spelled 2 different ways, where Lakelian is all one word, or it's Kelian Graves. So not exactly sure. I'm going to go with the apostrophe. That seems a little more official. We respect the apostrophe here. 17 commitments already for 2026 for Texas State. I'm not going to spend too much time on recruiting. There's a bye week next week, so we'll dive into those 17. We'll talk more about it, including Graves, including Easton Webb, a player who committed recently, quarterback, 2-sport athlete. Seems like he's going to play baseball as well. Real interesting player. But yeah, 17 commitments for Texas State's 2026 class on 247 Sports. 13 of those 17 are 3-star or higher, with the 1 4-star. 8 have a rating of 85 or higher. In the 80s, that's how they denote whether a player is a 3-star. Once you hit the 90s, they move you up to a 4-star. So high-end 3-star ratings for 8 of the 17, including the quarterback commit, Easton Webb, who I mentioned, 2-sport athlete. He's the 3rd highest with an 87 rating for him. It's an exciting prospect at quarterback. I'm looking forward to talking about him, talking about Graves, some of these other guys in this class as well. It's really shaping out. It's a testament to a lot of things. We've seen relentless recruiting from G.J. Kinney and his staff since he's gotten here. You have to think that the Pac-12 plays into this as well. That news being a little more exciting, being the one brand in the Pac-12, one brand from Texas in the Pac-12. So interesting stuff. But let's get to the season, because we're in season right now. That was longer than I wanted to even spend on recruiting, but it's pretty important when a 4-star commits, first ever for the Bobcats. Exciting stuff. Shout out to Lakelian Graves. But let's talk about Arizona State loss for Texas State. 34-15 loss in Tempe. 4 touchdowns for Arizona State, a 27-yard pass, a 30-yard pass, a 1-yard run after a fumble, and a 75-yard run. That was something when we spoke to G.J. Kinney this week, talking about explosive plays. We got to talk to Khalil Alexander and Kennard Snyder as well. I threw those on Twitter, some other socials. You can find those videos. And a lot of them are just a lot of regret on some of these explosive plays. Especially on the ground, that 75-yard run. That's the 2nd week in a row they were gashed for a 75-yard run that ended up in a touchdown and really, really obscured their rush average on defense. But we'll get there. Let's talk about Texas State. No touchdowns in the first half for Texas State. 2nd lowest scoring first half for the Bobcats under G.J. Kinney. They had 0 against Old Dominion last year, if you remember that game. Real fluky, weird game. 4th lowest scoring game under Kinney for the Bobcats. I was concerned they were going to finish the game under 10. They have not done that. They've always gone over double digits in the G.J. Kinney era, and for a while it was sitting there at 9 until that last touchdown. And I don't know why. It made me feel a little better. But UTSA and Troy, they put up 13 last in 2023 in the same season. Both losses that they avenged the following season. And then Old Dominion last year with 14 points. So a rare low-scoring effort by a G.J. Kinney offense. Really, it was that first half with 3 points. They went into halftime with 3, and it was hard to recover from that. There was the one fumble on the snap under center for Brad Jackson that they lost, but there was another one where he was strip sacked. that they almost lost. Shout out to Dorian Strawn. He jumped on that ball. So it was not a great day for either side of the ball. I don't think it was absolutely terrible. I don't think this was a day where I'm like, wow, it's going to be a long season for the Bobcats. It was really just a long night. I still believe in this team. I think there's so much to clean up on defense. I'm less concerned about the offense because really I think a lot of what was happening on offense, obviously you have the Bo Sparks fumble. When you have 22 catches, you touch the ball that much, it's something's bound to go shaky at some point for him. Hopefully it's the only one this season. But it was a lot of that was rush decisions again, at least early on by Brad Jackson, and then he settled and looked a lot better and put together a couple really good drives in the second half. But GJ Kinney, let's get some quotes from him. Awesome press conference from him on Tuesday. I posted that on social medias as well. If you haven't seen that, you could tell he was a little angry, watched the tape, didn't love what he saw some missed opportunities. I liked angry GJ. It wasn't like he was short or anything with us. Wasn't mad at like the media. You could just tell he was frustrated at that game after a couple days of cutting tape. But these are just some scattered quotes from him throughout that. It was like 15 minutes we talked to him. These are some stuff that I like that he said this week. Said angry, disappointed, didn't play well enough to win the game. Some of our inexperience showed, but that's why we play games like that. Some of it is MAs, missed assignments. Some of it is coaching. Some of it is not getting lined up. And some of it is players making really good plays. Levette, Jordan Tyson, pretty good players, terrific players. That's the thing about defense. You can play well for 80 snaps and 5 of them go wrong and you can lose the ball game. Good thing is that all of them are correctable. If we face another quarterback like that again all year, I don't know. He was pretty special though. So those are quotes from GJ Kinney, just stuff I appreciated the accountability. A lot of times you'll hear coaches be like, oh, it's on me. It's on me. It's on this person. It's on that. And they don't really give you a lot of insight into what specifically they're talking about. I appreciated him talking about the missed assignments, just things that were little things that were off that are correctable, and being able to specifically pinpoint where the problems are a great way to be able to fix them. So I appreciated that at GJ Kinney. Usually sometimes you get coach speak out of coaches, but you could tell there was a little bit of fire inside them about what transpired last week. Still have confidence in this team for the rest of the year. 9-3 is what I said in fall camp. I still feel great about that one, especially seeing how Louisiana's shaking out. JMU might be tougher than I anticipated. It was not too long ago I said, nah, they're not that tough. But now, I don't know. JMU, pretty good program. But I still believe in this team, 9-3. I'm confident in that one, even after what I saw Saturday. The second half specifically, because you see G5s play these P4s, and they'll have a good first half, and then it's the second half where everything falls apart, where the P4 goes into the locker room, and the coaches go, okay, everybody settle down. Remember who we're playing here. Here's how we're going to beat them. And then they come out and they run over them. I didn't feel that way. It was more even in the second half. I'm not saying Texas State beat Arizona State in the second half, because they didn't. It was just a little closer to even than the first half was. So I appreciated the correction from them. Brad Jackson looked like the freshman. We'll start a little bit on offense. There's another quote from GJ. We need to execute at the level we did the first 2 weeks, because they did look really good the first 2 weeks. Brad Jackson didn't look like a freshman. He looked like one against Arizona State. Those players were a little bit faster, a little bit bigger, a little bit more ready. But that's okay. I was glad he played the whole game. I really appreciated that. I was a little concerned that they would try to play some of these backups, which I understand. You want to get them some reps, but I also feel for a quarterback like Brad Jackson so early in his development, it's important to stick it through till the end. It's like, hey, you're losing. You got to fight through this loss and learn how to overcome that adversity and deal with it. As long as he's not taking real nasty hits, because the blocking wasn't terrible. It wasn't on blocking this game. He wasn't taking nasty hits, and he wasn't throwing picks. He had the fumble. He had the almost fumble. So there was almost 2 of them, but those are the mistakes are going to come. So might as well let him finish the game and get as many reps as he can, because they kept him in the game, and he was able to put together some good drives towards the end. For the season, 6 touchdowns to 1 pick. 67% completion percentage, another 91 yards, and 3 scores on the ground. I mentioned the fumble under center. Interested to see if there will be more play under center. That's something that G.J. Kinney said he put that fumble on coaching. They hadn't done a lot of under center snaps, but he said they might plan on peppering that in more throughout the season. So I do like that. It helps the run game quite a bit. It helps play action. Helps a lot of things. A lot of shotgun and being behind center in the G.J. Kinney era. First 2 catches for Ty Stammy. I appreciated that. It came because Blake Smith got hurt. Not sure how long that's going to be. Didn't seem like a lot of confidence from G.J. Kinney when talking about Blake Smith for the longevity of the season. But hopefully speedy recovery for Blake Smith. But 2 catches for Ty Stammy, 24 yards. Big target. 6'7", 6'8" is what Blake Smith said. He's listed at 6'6", but man, it's a big guy out there. Excited to see more of him. Titus Lyons even got another catch. Great to see Titus Lyons still out there blocking like crazy, doing great stuff. Imagine we'll see more of Ty Stammy. I could see it being Titus Lyons if they do start just 1 and they don't start out with 12. It'll probably be Lyons and then Stammy, but you never know. Greg Burrell finally got some carries, but it doesn't seem like he's going to get more carries. I don't exactly know. It seems like when G.J. Kinney, when he was talking about it, it was like, do you plan on handing him the ball more? He's like, well, we'll see how that goes. Kind of just brushing it off to the side. We saw Greg Burrell get 79 yards, 74 yards, something like that in the first game against Eastern Michigan. None against UTSA. Comes in against Arizona State, 5 rushes for 19 yards. And then the comments from G.J. Kinney, not sure what's going on there. We've seen it before where players have fumbled, running backs have fumbled before last season in the past, and then they kind of were put in the doghouse. I have no fumbles from Greg Burrell. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but pretty good stuff when he's out there. So they've been using a lot of running backs, so I imagine they'll want to put him back out there and continue getting the run game going, because really, I mean, it's been nice how they've been cycling a lot of backs. Even we've seen more Torrance Burgess than Burrell the last couple weeks. But Jenkins has been putting up some good stuff, and Perry, of course. I think it's good to cycle through, because it helps with injuries, especially at a position where a lot of injuries happen. So it'll be good to cycle through and make sure everyone's rested. Tired legs a lot of times cause injuries. So, all right, we're going to talk about some defense as well. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by Turnkey Tailgate. Turnkey Tailgate Party Providers. Bobcat owned and operated by 2 brothers, Steve and Trey Garza. Turnkey Tailgate is the premier party provider for the I-35 corridor, servicing Austin to San Antonio and everything in between. Rent tailgate party trailers, tents, chairs, and other outdoor equipment. They'll even set it up and take it down. They've got an 8x16 trailer with electric brakes, an RV with bathroom and air conditioning, hot and cold water, roof mounts, 55-inch TVs, receivers, portable generators, 10x15 tents. They've got it all. Whatever you need, coolers, camp-style chairs, they've got it at Turnkey Tailgate. Check them out at turnkey-tailgate.com. That's turnkey-tailgate.com, and call them up at 833-TKT-GATE. That's 833-TKT-GATE or 833-858-4283. And follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Turnkey Tailgate. Oh, shout out to Turnkey Tailgate. And I said it on the last one. If any of you sickos use their services for a Texas State tailgate, let us know. They'll let us know as well, and I'll be there. I'll come hang out at that tailgate. We got to check it out. Some cool stuff they've got going on. Check them out, Turnkey Tailgate. All right, let's go to the defense. I hinted at it the first couple games where the defense it hasn't been to the level, the standard that we've come to learn, specifically in the pass rush in the DB play. I think those two kind of have gone hand in hand. It ended up being wins the first 2 weeks. This one was a loss, and you could really see a lot more of the flaws stand out just a little bit more. I know that well, let me see what I have. 126th nationally in rush defense. That's really, they're allowing 211 yards rushing per game. This defense, that is not great. I know they've had a lot of attrition at the defensive line, at linebackers. Honestly, across the defense, they had a lot of attrition. A lot of leaders are gone. A lot of players who have been here for a minute are stepping into leadership roles for the first time. A lot of new transfers are playing in this style of defense for the first time. So there is a lot of learning with this defense. But we are 25% through the season, 3 games down. Always feels crazy to say that after 3 games and no turnovers for the Texas State defense. None. No fumble recoveries, no interceptions. That's a big one. That's not great. That's something that they really have to get a hold of. I think it starts with the pass rush. We saw it get a little bit better last week. I think them playing against a team that plays primarily in the pistol with a quarterback who loves to go east to west, that helped a little bit with the pass rush. It's not up to the elite standard that we have seen. Elite, that's probably strong, but a ferocious pass rush that we've seen the last 2 seasons. It hasn't been quite up there. Great stuff from Khalil Alexander, great stuff from Kennard Snyder, Dontae Russell, but it's got to increase. It's got to be more pressure on the quarterback, and I think this week against Nicholls State. It's a good get back week, good time to do that. But yeah, no turnovers. I feel like that's the big one. I don't mean to fully harp on this defense because they are 2-1. They have gotten some wins, and really in that second half, they stabilized a little bit more so towards the end of the fourth quarter, and who knows how much Arizona State was really letting off the gas. But this defense, it definitely needs a lot of work. An area where it doesn't need work is third down defense. They're doing terrific there. And penalties, 2 areas that were a little suspect last season, they have improved significantly this year. I feel like they are one of the least penalized teams in the country. I meant to look that up and confirm that suspicion because they are not getting many penalties on defense or offense. And that is a testament to coaching. Same thing with the third down defense and the fourth down defense. They are improving there. They need to improve in the playmaking side of it, in getting sacks, getting interceptions, getting fumbles, strip sacks, turn into turnovers. Because they are doing a good job on fourth down and getting those TODs, those turnover on downs, but those true turnovers, that's something that this defense needs because it'll help. I mean, you get the ball back in Brad Jackson's hands, you get that offense cooking, that's what you need. And takes the defense off the field as well. They don't need to be out there all the time. That's going to wear guys down. I think all 3 levels, the defensive line, linebackers, defensive backfield need work, but I really think it stands out the most to me at corners and nickel. And nickel, I know Amarian Atwood is hurt. It doesn't seem like he's going to play anytime soon. Possibly come back this season, though, according to G.J. Kinney. We'll talk more about injuries here in a bit. And it's Will Mitchell, a young guy. He's a sophomore. He was a true freshman last year, played quite a bit in 11 games, mainly on special teams. And now he's getting an increased role in this defense at a somewhat new position for him at this nickel corner, the star position. And he fights valiantly. He does well. I want him. And this is not me saying anything about him that he needs to be pulled or anything. He needs more reps. It's good to see him getting reps because he fought hard against Jordan Tyson. He was just outmatched, a little outsized. It was a terrific athlete, probably a first-round NFL pick he was going up against for a guy who's pretty new on the scene. He's got a lot of reps to go, but really his corner, a lot of some good stuff from Jaden Rios, but a lot of guys who just seem confused and out of place at that corner position. But like I said, there was a good pass breakup near the end zone or by the end zone by Rios, and it's not all bad, but really it's that's what needs to be corrected. I don't know if it's cycling through and figuring out some of these other guys who are new there. I know No Trez Moore has been pretty big. He hasn't played all season. Don't know exactly when he's going to come back, if he is going to come back. But those are the positions that are really standing out to me. But let's switch gears and talk about Nicholls State, the battle for the paddle. If any of you need a refresher about what the battle of the paddle is, it goes back to Texas State's FCS days back in the Southland Conference before moving up to the FBS Conference. There was a bit of a rivalry with Nicholls State, the Colonels, over in Thibodaux, Louisiana. 1998, there was a massive flood in this area that took a lot of lives, very similar to what happened, in Kerrville and surrounding areas this past July. It is one of the most dangerous floodplains in the United States, this area. And one of those floods happened in 98. I believe it even canceled the game. The coach at the time for Texas State said you need a boat and a paddle to get to the game. When they rescheduled it, they called it the Battle for the Paddle in order to honor those who lost their lives in the flood. And so it was decided that the two teams would play for the paddle. Pretty sure Bobcats won the inaugural one, but it was pretty back and forth throughout the whole deal until we get to 2011 when Texas State, they moved from FCS to the FBS, leaving the Southland Conference to be independent, and then to eventually be in the WAC, and then 12 years later, and then the Sun Belt, and then 12 years later, go to the Pac-12. But in that intermediary year, they still had a game scheduled with Nicholls. Texas State won. Nicholls refused to give the paddle, saying it was no longer the battle for the paddle because that was a Southland rivalry. And now Texas State is moving on to the FBS. There is no more paddle. Bobcats demanded the paddle back for a long time. Not demanded, but a few fans got rowdy on Twitter about it. When they finally met up again in 2019, Texas State won. They made their own paddle, even though Nicholls doesn't accept the rivalry anymore. Texas State does, and they've made the paddle, and they're bringing the paddle back for this one. We saw Dr. Kelly Damphus, school president. He went out and did a video and had a paddle and everything. So they'll be bringing it back. Although you talk to players, you talk to GJ Kinney, you talk to all of them, and they're like, we don't know what any of this is. No idea what the battle for the paddle is. But it's back, baby. The battle for the paddle. Bobcats' lone FCS opponent this season. They started out the season with a nice win over Incarnate Word. I actually watched that game just to get my eyes on Nicholls. It's the only game I watched that they played. But I have caught up with what they've been doing the rest of the season. But Texas State, it was hard to find odds for this game, because it's an FCS opponent. It seems like oddshark.com is the Bobcats winning by a couple touchdowns. But it was hard to find some odds. Bobcats obviously favored facing an FCS opponent at home. Some players to watch for Nicholls, 5 players to watch. Ethan Lee, senior safety, starting out on defense and at safety. He's a senior. He's been there all 4 years. He leads them in tackles this season with 2 interceptions, also leads in that category as well. He's one of 4 DBs with an interception for Nicholls. Very opportunistic DBs. Young quarterback coming up for the Bobcats. Need to be weary of that. A quote from GJ Kinney, I think on Ethan Lee, said they have one of their safeties is one of the best we'll face all year. Pretty sure he was talking about Ethan Lee. So I'm including that quote here as well. Number 2 for Nicholls State, I have Mikel Brock Jr., running back, leads the team in rushing and receptions. So he's not only running the ball, he's going to catch him out of the backfield. Definitely someone to spy on, keep an eye on for that whole game. Receiver, GJ Kinney also mentioned they have a terrific receiver based on stats and accolades. I couldn't decipher which one he was talking about. I'm going to go with Solo Lewis. He transferred in from Louisiana Tech. He doesn't have a touchdown yet this year, but he's averaging 16 yards a catch. He's a pretty good receiver. They have a couple other good receivers as well, but that's the one that I think GJ Kinney's talking about. I'm more confident about Ethan Lee being the safety he was talking about. Number 4, quarterback all the way down at number 4 for me, Deuce Hogan. Doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. It's kind of his first year actually getting some reps and everything. He's a kid from Grapevine. A lot of Texas players on Nicholls, even some other ones I've named already. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season. Not fantastic stats, but he is a serviceable quarterback. That arm, it can do some things. And I saw some nice back shoulder throws against Incarnate Word. I wasn't, blown away, but for a guy who's finally getting some snaps for the first time, I think it's a long career for him as well. So it's nice to see that he's capable. You don't want to sleep on him. That's for sure. And number 5, we have a punter. Might be the only time I put a punter in these players to watch, mainly because I like his name, Pharrell Harwood. What a great name. What a great football name. Pharrell Harwood. He's a punter, and he's worthy of being here. It's not just because of the name. 18 punts in 3 games. A lot of punts. Long of 65. 3 punts inside the 20. 3 punts over 50 yards. Shout out to Pharrell Harwood. Watch out for him. Hopefully he does a lot of punting on Saturday. Let's hope we see a lot of Pharrell Harwood for the Texas State Bobcats. Nicholls State, I mentioned earlier, 1-2 on the season, lost their last two after beating Incarnate Word. They had Troy on the ropes, were beating them in the fourth quarter, lost that one, and then they lost one that they definitely wish they had back last week. I think it was East Georgia. I didn't make a note of it here in my notes. It was like East Georgia or something like that. A team that they should have beat. Some injuries for Texas State. I don't know any for the Nicholls side, but some injuries that we were able to confirm with G.J. Kinney. Joel Lazen Landry out for the season. He got hurt in the very first game against Eastern Michigan in the first half. He is out for the season. Big loss for the Bobcats. This is a player. He was a freshman last year. He was one of the team leaders in sacks and tackles for a loss. Really made the most out of his snaps that he played last season. So be excited to see him next season. But he's out for the year. Unclear what the injury is. They don't ever really say what it is. But Trez Moore also out. He hasn't played at all this season. This player had 2 interceptions last year. Played for UTEP at one point before transferring into Texas State. A pretty good corner. Like I was saying earlier, they could use some corner help. Not exactly sure how long he's out. Not optimistic he's going to be back soon. Usually, if he is, you'd hear something around those lines from G.J. Kinney. Day-to-day, whatever, something like that. Let's see who else we got. Blake Smith is out. We saw him. He got crunched, absolutely smashed in that Arizona State game. I feel for him. It was 2 guys, 2 tacklers converging on him. It's a big hit. Real shame, especially coming back after an injury last year. Hopefully Blake Smith gets back out there. Amarian Atwood out. G.J. Kinney said he's confident that Atwood could come back at some time during the season, but seems like it will be somewhat of an extended period of time. Amarian Atwood was starting at nickel, and that's where Will Mitchell has been playing now, the young guy. Will Mitchell, I've said it before, we'll remind you again, track star in high school, lots of speed, believe in him quite a bit. So it's similar to how Brad Jackson, it's good reps to get out there. It's really good for him to go against a first-round NFL player, potentially, in Jordan Tyson. I thought he fought valiantly. He didn't win, but he fought valiantly. Talik Lockett played last game. That was great to see after he went down. That was unclear throughout the week. He was day-to-day. He played. He started last week. Seems like he's going to be back this week. Lots of players banged up for the Bobcats, per G.J. Kinney. That's why it's a good thing they have a bye next week after this game. They have a bye before they start conference play at Arkansas State. Seems like it's a much-needed bye after non-conference play. A much-needed bye for the Bobcats. But a lot of players still coming out for Texas State. As I was saying before, it seems like the Odds Shark and these websites, a lot of them have about a 2-touchdown win for Texas State. I think it'll be a little more than that for the Bobcats. I have it at 56-24. I think that's what we're going to see for Texas State. That 24 for the defense, that should still be lower, but I think they're still working on some things. But you get a couple turnovers, and that'll be a lot less. I think this offense is still humming. That was a bad week, the 15-point output. I think what we saw the first 2 weeks is more along the lines of what we're going to see Saturday and what we're going to see for the majority of this season. I think this is definitely a get back and get right game for Texas State. They need to have their head on a swivel. This is a team coming on a 2-game losing streak themselves. They're hungry for a win. It's a team that hung with a pretty good Incarnate Word program to start this. Not hung with, they beat a pretty good Incarnate Word program. Embarrassed was the word G.J. Kinney used when talking about that one, saying they embarrassed Incarnate Word. So this is a team that can do it. They have some really good players. So it's definitely not one where Texas State needs to slouch on. But we heard from G.J. Kinney, we heard from Kennard Snyder, we heard from Khalil Alexander this week at the weekly press conference, and they all used the word domination. Need to dominate, need to dominate. I liked when I hear it from all 3 of them. Go out and show it on Saturday. This is an opponent where if they are going to do it, this is the time to do it. Remind yourselves who you are, what kind of team you are before jumping into conference play. So 56-24, that's what I'm going to get. Say it every time, predicting the unpredictable. You know, what did I, 37-33 win for Texas State last week. That's what I predicted. Way off. I got the Kylan Evans touchdown right, though. Shout out to Kylan Evans. Nice touchdown. Chris Don, your touchdown is coming this week. The turnovers for the defense. Get a turnover. Need some turnovers on defense. It'll go a long way. It really will. They'll just that break that they'll get will allow them to stay fresher for the rest of the game, and just getting the defense or the offense back out there as much as you can. But the Chris Don score, that's what I'm really predicting. Chris Don getting in the end zone. Come on, Chris Don. I'm ready for you. He's doing great. What's he at, 20 yards a catch? I made a Chris Don note, and I think I glossed over it. Let me go back to Chris Don. Let me scroll up right here. Yeah, Chris Don. Yeah, because this is actually a good note. I'm glad I scrolled back up to it. Chris Don, 20 yards per catch. But he's one of only 3 different receivers to catch a pass. We know Bo Sparks, Chris Don, and then Kylan Evans. No other wide receivers. It's been spread out. 3 catches to running backs, 3 catches to tight ends, let me rephrase this. 3 different running backs have caught a pass, 3 different tight ends have caught a pass, and 3 different receivers have caught a pass. 3 across the board. They have a lot more wide receivers. It's their main job is to catch the ball. And so spreading it out, I feel like that's going to be important, including to players like Chris Don. He hasn't found the end zone yet, but 20 yards per catch when he's getting it. We saw Kylan Evans, bigger target out there. They've got some of these other guys, Maven Anderson, the Cal transfer, LJ Johnson, the Texas Tech transfer. Just wanting to see more of these guys. There's even younger guys who were coming up. Jordan Martin is one that we saw in fall camp. He was looking big, number 14. We'll see if they can get more of these receivers involved, especially in a game like Nicholls. But yeah, roundabout way of saying Chris Don to the end zone. Feeling it this week. My last note, I have a Sunbelt roundup if there's time. I feel like we have time. We're already going a little long. You don't mind, do you? Let's do a quick Sunbelt roundup. I know I had the Sunbelt stats, the standings. There they are right here. Okay. We're going to start in the East Division. Texas State is in the West Division, but we're going to start in the East. At the top of the East Division, we have Old Dominion, 2-1, no conference games yet. Right below them, App State, 2-1, but they're 0-1 in conference. That's why Old Dominion's leading the way so far. James Madison is third at 1-1. They've just played one less game than the others. Coastal Carolina at fourth, 1-2. They're tied with Georgia Southern just below them at 1-2, Georgia State at 1-2, and Marshall at 1-2. How about Georgia State? TJ Finley getting in there for Georgia State. Started the last 2 games. Hasn't gone great, but TJ Finley getting back out there, back in the Sun Belt. Let's go to the West where the Bobcats are. At the top of the West, we have Southern Miss, 2-1. 1-0 in the Sun Belt because they just beat App State. Nice win for Southern Miss. Nice win for Charles Huff. Their other wins at Jackson State, and then they lost to Mississippi State. Texas State, 2-1, right below Southern Miss. Just lost to Arizona State. We know that. But 2 wins, Eastern Michigan and UTSA. ULM, below the Bobcats at 1-1. They just lost to Alabama, 73-0. So, that was 2 weeks ago. I was like, I don't remember that from last week. That was September 6th. They were off last week. They have UTEP this week. I was like, yeah, I do not remember that one. Arkansas State 1-2, Louisiana 1-2, South Alabama 1-2, and Troy 1-2. Louisiana 1-2 is interesting. Missouri, what are you going to do? That's Missouri. McNeese, they beat 34-10 the week prior. That's right, they started the year out with that Rice loss, 14-12. Louisiana seems like a down year for the Raging Cajuns. Might catch them on the ropes later in the season. Who knows for the Bobcats? But there you go. There's your Sun Belt roundup, a quick one. I'll do more in depth next week on that Sun Belt roundup, trying to jam it all into this episode here. I feel like we got there. We covered quite a bit from transfer portal, 4-star commit, the Arizona State game, the Nicholls State game. What was that prediction? 56-24. That's what I'm calling for this one. Jam-packed episode. Sorry again, just one this week. We'll get back to double tapping it every week for the rest of the season. Appreciate you all tuning in on this one. This episode has been brought to you by Austin Patchmaster. Austin.patchmaster.com. Hole in the wall, give APM a call. drywall repair, paint jobs, popcorn removal, and more. Whether you're moving in, moving out, or just looking to upgrade, Austin Patchmaster has you covered. Third season sponsoring WNOGB, owned and operated by a Tech State grad and a true Tech State sicko, Michael Clements. Austin Patchmaster is one of our first sponsors. 200 plus 5-star reviews on Google. And if you mention WNOGB, you get a 10% discount. So hit them up at 512-200-3888. That's 512-200-3888. And get online at austin.patchmaster.com. Shout out to Michael Clements. My guy, Michael Clements. Real appreciative of him. I will be at that Scout tailgate this week. I will see you there. I said a couple weeks ago that I'd be there for the season opener. It got crazy. I'm determined to be there this week, so I will see you there. I hope it's a big crowd. I know it's coming off a loss. It was 21,000 the first game. I think that should be closer to 25,000. This team is humming. It's going to take a lot of the students are showing up. That student section is packed, so it's going to take a lot of the alumni and local fans to show up and come support these Bobcats. Quick cough before the outro. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnoworgetbent. WNOGB.com is under construction. I'm wearing the Mad Cat shirt. We'll be back. We'll be back this season with merch. Promise you. Excited for a bye week. We're going to come back with merch after the bye week. It's good. Nice to catch up on some things for all of us. Let the Bobcats heal. Let them reassess their plans. Same thing at Win Now or Get Bent. Let the Wizard heal. Let us reassess our plans. We'll be back. Yeah, Wizard Wednesday as well. I should have mentioned that. Wizard Wednesday will be back next week as well. Same with the cinematic recaps. We'll be back cooking next week, so stay tuned. The best way to stay tuned, check out our YouTube channel. Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Starting to count for a friend, like for them. Starting to count for an enemy, a UTSA enemy specifically. That'd be great. Man, they keep talking on like Twitter and stuff. It's so much fun. You just send them the graphic. You tell them 2 in a row. It's awesome. Thanks for the ammo. Thanks for the ammo, GJ Kenny. Really appreciate that. Check us out on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at WNOGB. Follow us on those ones. Need more followers on Instagram specifically. All our audio heads, thank you very much. The OGs of this podcast. This is the 5th season of Win Now or Get Bent. The first 2 seasons were audio only, so thank you very much. I know we do a lot of things for video, but that audio is really our foundation. If you're on there, if you're on Apple, Spotify, make sure you subscribe so it auto downloads to your device, and make sure you give a rating, give a good rating. We haven't had one on Apple in a minute. I know somebody gave a good one that I meant to read. The most recent one. It was about how great we are. So if you're the most recent comment, you can see it on the Apple Podcast under a 5-star rating. Shout out to you. Thank you to TGC LLC, Been Having It Hats. Check it out. Cats by 90, bhihats.com. Thank you to Turnkey Tailgate and to Austin Patchmaster. Shout out to the Wizard, Zachary Webb, always working hard. And the biggest shout out to you, all you sickos out there listening. Without you, we would be shouting into the void. But because of you, we're able to continue this thing. You help us grow with your support, with your comments, with everything that you do. Even I see a lot of you wearing the Mad Cat shirts and the Cats by 90 hats, supporting our sponsors, supporting our social media pages, tuning in here, our Patreon channels. Thank you so much for allowing us to continue this, going so we can go to the Pac-12 with these Cats. Keep it going. Keep growing with these Bobcats. But all right, everybody. Nicholls State, battle for the paddle. Give us the paddle back. We deserve the paddle. Give us the paddle back so we can paddle you with it. That's what's going to happen. Whether you give the Bobcats the paddle or not, you're going to get paddled. So you might as well give it up. Give us the paddle. All right. And then we'll leave it at that. Because it doesn't seem like anybody else really cares anymore except the fans. We're going to keep it alive, though, dang it. We want that paddle. Give us the paddle, Nicholls. All right, everybody. It's enough paddle talk. Win now or get bent.